Hey there, music makers. I'm Hayes Griffin.
I'm Magnus and Hayes.
And welcome to Mandolin Secrets Live, a bi-weekly show where we take a deeper look at what's happening in the world of mandolin secrets. Each episode will tackle our questions of the week, unpack the latest mandolin secrets lessons, and answer your questions about mandolin, guitar, and all things music. In this week's episode, we're going to be discussing our latest question of the week. Do you do any mandolin maintenance or repair yourself, or do you take it to a luthier? We're going to be talking about the new chord lesson for It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing that I released last week. And then Magnus has some Nordic folk guitar content for us. Before we dive into this week's discussion, though, be sure to head to mandolinsecrets.com/live to sign up for reminders about our upcoming streams. And if you can't tune in live, never fear. Just search Mandolin Secrets Live on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe to get updates when we release a new episode. Before we dive into all that stuff I talked about, though, I think Magnus has a question for all of you live listeners out there right now. So what do we got, Magnus?
Well, the thing that I'm thinking about is this thing that where do you find the songs that inspire you? And I also know this is a question that's been kind of posted into the community. We had some good answers for that question, and also it's very like relevant for me right now because I'm actually in a mood where I'm finding new songs that I'm working on. How about you, Hayes? How does this question come to you? Where do you find the songs that inspire you?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. You know, I think I definitely go to a lot of the same places that folks mentioned in this thread when we asked it on Facebook. You know, I definitely have some Spotify playlists that pop up that feed me like new material that I really enjoy. But I've honestly been really diving back into this old CD collection of mine. Do you remember what CDs are? They're those shiny little circles, Magnus. People used to sell them at concerts, you know?
Yes, I do remember. I could actually make a long detour, about CDs right now. Should I do that or should I don't?
Oh, man. I think actually that is an amazing question, and I'm writing that down for a future question of the week. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's good stuff. But I've actually, a couple years ago, I bought a huge collection. Have you heard of the Bear Family records? It's like a recording company. I think they're based out of Germany. But they bought up a lot of like
bear, like the polar bear sort of.
Exactly. The animal. BEAR Family. So I've been diving into a bunch of CD collections that were given to me there. Bear Family releases like these comprehensive box sets for a bunch of like old country and bluegrass artists and Western swing artists and stuff. So I've been listening to George Jones lately, the famous country singer. And then there are some Bob Wills Tiffany transcription discs that I just recently got of unreleased material that has never been heard before now. So CDs are where I'm at these days. It's funny. I'm going back in time in a way to kind of find the songs that inspire me.
Cool. And these songs that you're talking about, that's music that I never heard, I think.
Yeah,
so
I think
at some point you gotta introduce
we'll share
me
it
to that. Yeah. And for me, here's the thing. Right now, I'm actually playing classical music. That's because I told you like 2 weeks ago when that I've been playing with this orchestra, and that was. And we played this Vivaldi piece with this orchestra, and I think it was such a great experience for me because it was like spending like 3 days with them playing this music. I was at the end of those days, I was listening also on Spotify actually, but listening to takes of this complete piece, The Summer by Vivaldi, and I was hearing it in a new way at the end of those 3 days, and it's kind of like I feel that this music is now available to me somehow. That I haven't felt that before. So it's really it's a big thing actually, because I'm now like going back, and what I've been able to learn this weekend, I kind of learned and memorized the cello suite by Bach, the first cello suite.
Yeah.
You're familiar with it?
I am extremely familiar with it. Like, it's one of those, it's like a must-know piece.
That one, and I tried to play that before, but I never like been able to really do it. But it's now like it's kind of, I feel like my musicality is ready for this kind of music now, because I was also able to memorize it very quickly this time using this technique of back chaining. If you're familiar with that.
Yeah, can you explain that a little bit?
Well, back chaining is because at the time when I started to try to learn these written pieces, you know, they are so different from like a fiddle tune structure. Fiddle tunes are meant to be remembered, sort of.
Yes.
I mean, but then it's like an 8-bar long, and then it's repeating once more. So that you...
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's very easy to keep that kind of music in your head. Same thing with Celtic music. I mean, Nordic folk, all that, like the oral traditions. And I'm... That is my way of kind of approaching music from a fiddle tune point of view, sort of. So that meant classical music have always felt so difficult for me, because I can't remember them, you know.
I've honestly, you're explaining exactly why I have only played as much classical music as I needed to get through school.
Yeah, and but I learned a little bit of how to memorize these pieces more easily, and the technique that I use to do it is a technique that is actually referred to as back chaining. And the idea is, what I'm doing, I'm actually learning to explain it very like black and white. I'm learning the last bar first. Learning the last bar of the piece, then I'm learning the one right before that, going into the last bar.
Yes. So so like an example practice session for this might be like, play the last bar of music, like memorize the last bar of music, play it. And then memorize the bar before, but play that bar as well as the last bar.
Yes.
And then just keep repeating that process, going back one bar at a time. Okay.
So back chaining is basically going from the unknown towards the known.
Yeah.
And when I approached classical music before learning this technique, I started in the very beginning. I was trying to learn the first pieces, and as soon as I came to bar 13, 16, 18, 24, I was always lost, you know, at some point, because there's, and I like, even when reading music, I use back chaining actually, because but I'm fond of like memorizing it. And I think it's also because listening to players like Chris Thiele, Avi Avital, you know, they don't play for music. They got it.
No.
They also... So, so I could... But that is back chaining, basically. And that is a game changer for me. And now using that technique, and also having the kind of idea and the courage to approach the music, knowing I can learn it, and also having, because the thing here's also what happened playing with the orchestra. They said they might want to record the entire Vivaldi season with us. So there's a reason for me now also to get into more classical music. So I'm very inspired by that. And I find actually songs, the songs that I'm playing now, I found them in my own cupboard, like hidden music that I sometimes gonna learn. And finally, I can actually learn it. So it's very, very exciting.
Man, congratulations on that. I seriously, it's funny. Now I feel inspired to kind of go to my collection because I've got like all the Bach stuff that you know, all the cello suites, all that kind of stuff, the Paganini caprices, all those kinds of things that I'm just like, I've been too scared to try and learn because I think I hit the same wall that you did. So maybe this back chaining thing would help.
It will, for sure. And back chaining is a technique people are using in all areas of learning. Even for like physical activities, people can use back chaining. I know, but that's kind of a sidetrack. But
I love it.
Yeah. And also, because it's also, I say, it's a little bit scary as well, because it's such a huge area to enter. But I've decided that I will learn a couple of pieces now. That a few ones that I have, I played this one, but even that one, when I came to the B part of that, that thing that I never came to that before. but so that one is almost in place. I'm actually thinking about playing it on a private gig that I'm doing this weekend, just to try it out. And then there's this the saraband and the double. It's from the B minor partita.
Yes,
those two I'm gonna learn, and then I have also one Vivaldi piece that I will try to nail here within the near future.
That's awesome, man.
But starting with like a handful is enough, I think.
I would hope so. Yeah. We'll have to find some good duets, and maybe we can make that one of the pieces that we'll learn, right?
Yes. I actually did find a couple of duets in my cupboard as well.
That's great.
Emanuel Barbella or something like that. Maybe Christian that is with us. Maybe he's like, know what is Barbella or what he means.
Yeah.
This is going a direction I wasn't expected. But Hayes, actually, I wanted to ask you can you just bring your mandolin and show me what you're working on right now? Play us a bit of music, please.
Actually, funny story about that. About 2 hours ago, I sold my mandolin. So I am currently without an instrument right now. I knew that you would have to bring that up, right?
So you were sitting there all naked, sort of.
I feel exposed in some very uncomfortable kind of way. I've got a guitar here. I can do that if you want.
Yeah, I'm kidding. But yeah, tell us. You sold your Mando.
Yeah, so I've mentioned it here on the podcast before, but in the next couple of weeks, I have a Red Diamond A style coming my way.
So it's so close now.
It is very, very close. It should be. I would say it will be ready by like maybe the last week of August, first week of September, kind of thing. So I'm getting very anxious. You know, I've been emailing Don McRosty, the guy that builds them, and he said, he gave me a hard date. And Don's one of those guys where if he gives you a date, then you can pretty much count on that's when it's going to be ready. So last week of August, first week of September. And I actually had a current student who's headed to Berklee College of Music this fall. And he and his buddy were looking for an A-style mandolin. And I was like, well, okay. I know where there's a good one that's not going to get too much love anymore.
That's. I also like the mentality of one in, one out, basically. Yeah,
I think I have to do that, or otherwise I'll just be drowning in a sea of instruments. You know, I think at one point in time I owned like 16 or 17 instruments, and now I'm down to I'm under 10, and I would like to keep it that way.
Yeah, that's brilliant, because that actually connects to the thing that I was talking about last week to getting rid of all my music papers, and I'm thinking of my instruments as well. There are too many, and also we just touched upon it briefly. CDs. I think CDs will leave my house before the end of this year. Actually,
it's funny. I think it seems like a lot of the house cleaning that you and I have been doing has actually led to some inspiration. You found some classical music that you want to dive into, but you'll get rid of the papers. Yeah. I started diving into my CDs to figure out which ones I wanted to keep and which ones I wanted to get rid of, which is how I rediscovered all of this other music I was talking about. So to anyone out there who's looking for some musical inspiration, just try and do some house cleaning, and you'll find some sheet music or CDs that'll be good for you.
Yeah, so true. Okay, I can see some comments coming in here. The Isabel is gone. Well, gone is not the word. It's just found another owner, but that's from Darren. Elliot is here also with us, and Ian. Yeah, a lot of people. But we're gonna play a bit of share some music with you here. And I have two different clips. Which one should I start with? Well, actually, I can start with this little clip. This is a tune that I released over 2 years ago. It's almost 3 years actually. And what's interesting with when I recorded this tune, I played it on my mandolin. Teach like how to play this song inside Mandolin Secrets Academy with the notations and all that and the instructions for it. But I also and a lot of the songs I don't do any some I do backups for, some I don't, but this one I recorded a guitar track for it. And the idea was also, I wanted teach this guitar track as well, notate it and make a lesson out of it. I also remember even Ian, who is with us here, asked for that tutorial. And until now, I haven't done it. But I can come back to that. But first, just listen to this. It's a Swedish polska traditional dance tune, and me playing mandolin and guitar. I'm adding the song there. It's Polska after Juringius, it's called. And the main reason why I'm playing back this is, as I said, the guitar track. And I haven't... ever since I started my YouTube channel, ever since I started Mandolin Secrets, I wanted also to teach guitar. But that never came to the point where that was possible for me. But now with you, Hayes, in the team, we're putting together the guitar club. So finally, I actually have a place for this kind of content to sit, and it feels like I'm completing a circle, sort of, now that can share this with the world.
I gotta say, that's really exciting for me personally. I know you and I know about this because we've been putting in the work to kind of put the guitar club together and all that stuff. But I'm glad that I joined the team to give you the space to make guitar content, because now I can learn Nordic guitar stuff.
Yes. That's actually really good, and that's happening a lot that we're learning from each other already.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that last track was beautiful. I that's a rhythm style that I don't really play. You know what I mean? So it's very intriguing to me.
Yeah, we were listening to the first round of the tune, sort of the first AABB part, and that guitar I started very like laid back, just putting the chords behind it. Also, main reason because I think I play the melody a bit busy, sort of. So I wanted the guitar track to be very soft, but also interesting for this track. I think I'm feeling like the chord voicings and that I'm using is, I would say, a little bit bluegrass inspired. Actually,
That's cool. There was one that you played in there. Did you play like a G add 9 chord at one point, like a G with like your index finger on the A note?
A? Yeah, I think I played like that.
That is such a popular kind of like, what I want to say, newer progressive kind of chord. I heard that and immediately knew which chord you were playing. I was like, I love that voicing so much.
Yeah, exactly. And also, yeah, so I think, because I have like a little bit of different like techniques and different tunings that I use also. I also use a lot of, so this one was like standard tuning, but also I play a lot of drop D tuning for tunes in the key of D and G minor, sorry, D and G, both major and minor. I use the drop D tuning a lot. So that's actually very fun now to finally have the bandwidth to do it, the space, but also have a proper place actually to put this content.
Yeah.
So yeah, really looking forward to sharing the guitar club with the people here in the near future.
Exactly. Yeah. Stay tuned for that one, right, folks?
Yeah. And some more music that we can, or should we go into that? We can actually first take the question that you posted to the group there.
Oh, yeah. There was a question of the week. I think it was the most recent one. Do you do any mandolin maintenance or repair, or do you take it to a luthier? And this one was interesting. Yeah. I knew that I was kind of starting a fire a bit with this one because there are some people that have very strong opinions on this kind of stuff. But it was interesting to see what the community had to say about it, because I would say most people were comfortable with doing some light kind of maintenance on their instrument, whether that was like adjusting the bridge height or those kinds of things, like moving the bridge to adjust the intonation, those kinds of things. But it seemed like pretty much beyond any of that kind of work, I would say 80% of the people that responded to this said they took it to a luthier. They didn't try to mess with any of that stuff themselves.
That sounds like my approach also, I think.
Yeah. So. There were a few daredevils out there, though, like me, because I don't know. I think I've said this before on the show. My best friend, Jacob Hawkins, is an amazing luthier, and he actually studied with Don McRosty, the guy that builds Red Diamond mandolins. So he kind of showed me some tricks of the trade. I think my buddy Jacob just got really annoyed at how much I was asking him to set up my guitars. So he taught me how to do fretwork and setup so I wouldn't call him anymore. Yeah. But I ended up really enjoying it. And I will say to anyone out there listening to this, if you are one of those people that is immediately kind of fearful of ruining your instrument or messing it up, there are some really simple things related to setup work that you can actually do for your instrument and save some money. That won't really drastically affect. You can't, damage your instrument by doing some of these things like adjusting the action, and stuff like that. So if you're interested in it, I would say check out Dan Earlywine. We can put a link to this later, but Dan Earlywine's book on guitar maintenance. I know it's for guitars, but it's the same skills apply to the mandolin as they do the guitar.
It's a fretted instruments with a fretboard and strings and bridge and all that's right.
Exactly, because he shows you, essentially in his book, you'll want to look at how he sets up archtop guitars, because the archtop guitar is the same mechanics as a mandolin, like a floating bridge and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But after working with my buddy Jacob and studying some of Dan's book, I felt more empowered, and I have not irreparably screwed up any of my instruments yet. So it's good.
Yeah, that's very good. I think I saw at some point when we were having a video call, you actually showed me the desk where you could do your guitar maintenance.
Yeah, we'll have to post some pictures of that too, because I've got my little workshop area set up with my fret
That's
files and stuff like that. It's fun.
Yeah, very cool. I want to hear now a bit of music again, and this is It Don't Mean a Thing. If you ain't got that swing, the Duke Ellington classic, and here you're like demonstrating how to play the rhythm and the chords, the backup for this one. And what I think is very cool is this thing that you also explain. Let me see if I can try to even say this out. This is like this is like high level English for me. You know?
It is for me too, don't worry.
Chromatic embellishment of a chromatic embellishment on harmonic. Now you have to say it. I can't do it.
Chromatic embellishment of static harmony.
Static harmony.
Yeah, and a lot of people, you'll hear jazz guys call it CESH for short. CESH, CESH, chromatic embellishment of static harmony, CESH. And it's like, it is a mouthful for sure. And it's a funny kind of concept, because I think it's a little simpler than it sounds. You know what I mean? So
it sounds very pro in my ears, you know, when you're playing that kind of thing.
And the cool thing is, it sounds pro and it's easy to conceptualize. You know what I mean? So it's one of those tricks that you can kind of, once you know the like kind of trick behind it, then it's really easy to pull off. But people will think that you're a master, you know? Yeah. So, let's have a listen to this, and maybe you can just explain it in words very shortly afterwards. Yeah, so for sure. Here it is. It don't mean a thing. Chords. A 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes, there it is.
There we have it, folks.
Yeah, I love that little thing, and actually something new that I picked up from you just this week. I played this tune a lot, but I haven't used. I've used more of like a static chord.
Exactly. Like just a G minor shape or something like that.
And a G minor sixth maybe.
Yeah.
Sometimes
that would be super appropriate for like the swing era, you know, like the minor 6 chord as a 1 chord there. But the kind of mechanism, just to kind of demonstrate, I grabbed my guitar in the meantime. So like I said, folks, I sold my mandolin, so I have to explain it all on the guitar now. But
this is actually perfect bridge to the guitar club and the guitar content.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna see more guitars on the podcast. Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
But like Magnus was saying, the first two measures of this tune could be written as just a G minor chord. You know, a do 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 boo, boo. Right? So you could just play like a straight G minor underneath of it. But this CESH thing that I'm talking about here, the chromatic embellishment of static harmony, if you listen to bass players when they play this, or the kind of mandolin chords that I just played in that video, there's this kind of chromatic thread that folks will use to kind of make like a descending single note line that steers you through the chord changes. So if you imagine the song without the chords anymore, it kind of sounds like this if you just add that chromatic line. A 1, 2, ready, go. Do, 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 boo, do, 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 do. So
and without the melody, once more.
Yeah, so the CESH thing typically, it allows you to start on the root note of a minor key, and then it progressively takes you toward the 5 chord, which is where you resolve afterwards. So like that chromatic line goes down to a D, which is the 5 in the key of G, and then it steers us straight back to the 1 chord. And this concept, like I was doing it in the chords that I played on the video there. You can incorporate that line in the middle of your chord voicings to sound like... Which I think is really neat and gives your soloist something kind of cool to play over top of.
Sure.
But you can also mess with it in solos as an improvisation technique as well, you know. But that's for another lesson down the line, you know.
Yeah. CESH. I learned something new today. CESH.
Yeah, man, that was
gonna see if the jazz cats here in Sweden know what I mean if I throwing out a CESH.
I bet they will, man. That was the folks that kind of got me onto that concept. I didn't really know much about it until I got to graduate school in Boston, and all the like bebop guys and stuff were using this in their solos and things like that. So
yeah, I mean, I definitely recognize the sound of it, but I just hadn't heard the term, sort of.
Yeah, the mouthful of words that people use to describe it.
Yeah. All right, folks. That's actually it for today's call. Today's episode, I would say. So thanks everyone for tuning in. We got plenty of listeners with us here live. But as always, if you want to like putting it here, mandolinsecrets.com/live. That is where you can go if you would like some notifications about when we're going live.
Yeah.
Is there anything you think that we want to add before finishing this one, Hayes?
No, folks. The only thing that I would say before we get out of here, after you get done, head into mandolinsecrets.com/live to sign up for notifications. If you have one mandolin friend, I'm sure you do because you're a mandolin player, right? If you have one friend who plays the mandolin, tell them about this podcast and ask them to look us up on their favorite stream platform. We're on all of the major ones, Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff. So tell your friends about the podcast and ask them to tune in sometime.
Perfect. I can see one actually question coming from one of the people in here. Graduate school, what are your degrees? And I can, very quickly, from Mandolin Secrets headquarters in Sweden, we have a bachelor degree in folk music. I was actually the first one ever to study mandolin playing at the college level or university level here in Sweden.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's that's pros and cons, of course.
Yeah, of course, man. Yeah, well, in Mandolin Secrets North American studios, we've got a bachelor's degree in guitar performance from Denison University, where they had a bluegrass program, so I was kind of like a bluegrass guy. And then I got my master's degree at the New England Conservatory of Music in Boston.
Wow.
And that was in contemporary improvisation.
Yes, fantastic. I definitely want to learn from that guy.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Okay, thank you everyone for tuning in. We'll see you in a new episode and a new live stream very soon. And until then, just remember, be a music maker.